What is going on, everybody, and welcome back to Mr. Place, and today I'm going to be showing you guys my Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity tier list. Roll the intro. Now guys, on our last tier list video for MCOC, no one really seemed to agree, so I hope you find my list kind of reasonable. Alright guys, here's my list. 3, 2, 1. Now, on the top in the Broken OP tier, I have Link, One-Handed Weapon, then Impa, which are in the Broken OP tier, which once I already said, it just means like the best characters in the game, period. Then in the God Mode tier, I have Tiba, Yenabo, and Mifa. In the Great tier, I have Sidon, King Rome, and Urbosa. In Average, I have Link Spear version, Ganon, and Master Koga. In Bad, I have Daruk, Link Two-Handed Weapon, Maz Kashiya, the Great Fairies, and Ravioli. In Noob, I have Reiju, Terrico, and Zelda Twilight Bow. And last but not least, in the meme tier, I have Zelda, Chica, Slate, and the Vegetable. Now, guys, I'm going to talk individually about each of them and say why they're in their tier and how I think about them. Now, first up, guys, I have Link. Now, in my opinion, he's the best character in the game. I mean, he's a really easy character to use. And, like, for example, one of his best combos is Y. I mean, he's also a really fun character because he's fully customizable. You can unlock new clothing for him. My favorite's the Royal Guard's outfit. And, like, just, like, it's so easy to get crits with him because you can just jump back, then use your unique action, which gets, if you land a lot of headshots, it lands almost all crits, exposing the enemy's weak point gauge, making him literally, like, the best character to fight bosses with, in my opinion, alongside Impa. And also, the damage on that is also pretty insane. His Chica runes are literally the most basic in the game, but, like, so they're not that good, but, like, they do the job. I mean, his Chica bombs are exposed to weak point gauge. So, overall, I'd say he's definitely the best character in the game. He's my favorite, so that's why he's in the Broken OP tier. Alright guys, next up we have our other Broken OP character, which is Impa. Now, Impa is on this Broken OP tier only for one reason, mainly, which is her unique action. Now, I get how all of her combos and stuff are pretty solid, but her unique action allows you to absorb symbols, allowing you to duplicate Impa, as well as her damage output, making her, like, one of the best characters for taking out bosses, and literally, like, any crowd control, just taking out any bokoblins, moblins, anything. It's just so much better with her because her damage output, and there's really no flaws that stand out that she has besides her, like, Chica runes aren't that good and stuff like that. But overall, her unique action is just OP to the next level, so that's why she's in the Broken OP tier. Next up, guys, is our first God Mode tier champion, which is Tiba. Now, Tiba has such great combos because they all allow you to use a repeating X attack at the end, which is so good for taking out hordes of enemies, because all at once it lets you extend the combo, just pretty much like doubling the damage output. He's also really good at taking out bosses for the same reason, as well as his insane bomb air attack, which is insane damage in seconds, taking out pretty much everything. For those reasons, Tiba is definitely a God Mode champion, because he doesn't really have many flaws besides his Chica runes not being too good, and his unique action not being too good, but besides that, those are really things that are holding him back from the Broken OP tier. Next up, guys, we have Yenabo. Yenabo is next on the list due to his unique action, which is pretty OP because it allows Daruk's protection around him, increasing his damage output and decreasing the damage he takes. As well, his combos are all pretty solid, not really having a bad combo, and his strong attacks are constantly taking out bosses' pie, which is pretty insane, and it's really easy to get a weak point smash because of that, and that's why I think he definitely deserves to be on the God Mode tier. Next up, guys, on the list, also on the God Mode tier, we have Mifa. Now, Mifa, the special thing about Mifa is her ability, which anytime she performs a special attack, it heals her as well as her allies, as long as they're around her. She also has a cool, unique action, which creates a waterfall effect, allowing her to evade attacks and get out of bad situations pretty easily. Now, overall, I think Mifa is a really solid character, and her healing attack is so useful, especially on hard quests. Like when I first defeat Ganon and stuff, it's so useful, and that's why I always normally have her in my team over Tiba sometimes just for her healing ability. So definitely is a great God Mode choice, and also always should have her in your team, especially going into hard quests. Now, guys, we are in the great tier, and first off, we have Sidon. Now, Sidon's particularly special with his combos actually doing pretty insane damage, where some do more than others, so you really have to know how to play him. He's also a great character where he is very easy to avoid attacks with him, which makes him really good if you properly know how to play him. Now, guys, we have King Rome. Now, this guy is particularly similar to Link in a lot of ways, such as his normal attack and his combos. He's really good for taking out moblins and legible goblins due to his moveset being more made for that kind of fight and having insane range on them. He does have a pretty good damage output, though it's nothing special. Overall, his basic attack combos are pretty nice, and I really enjoy the way he plays. So, I definitely think a great tier is where he belongs. Now, guys, before moving on to the next character, I would just like to say if you're enjoying the video, make sure to leave a like down below and also subscribe to the channel if you're new here for great content. Back to the video. Next up, guys, we have Urbosa. Now, I love Urbosa. She is really different from all the other characters in the game. Now, she has an awesome, unique action allowing her to charge up her weapon with some kind of lightning fuse that gives her enemies a minor shock, it seems like, as well as a damage increase. And she incorporates lightning into a lot of her runes and other combos, dealing extra damage. And some of her lightning attacks even have some of the best damage in the entire game. So, for those reasons, she definitely deserves a great tier. And now that I'm thinking about it, she might even deserve a God tier, God mode tier if you're getting pretty generous. But I think great tier is definitely where she belongs. Next up, guys, we have Link Spear Weapon. Now, this guy's interesting because it's pretty much just a nerf to the one-handed weapon of Link because he has a much worse unique action combos as well as his other attacks. He's also a weird character to get used to, and I don't love Link's Spear, but he's not that bad. I mean, he's really good for defense, but that is really it. I would definitely consider putting him in the bad tier, but because he has a pretty good damage output, I'm going to put him in the average tier, though you could definitely put him in the bad tier if you really wanted to. Next up, guys, we have Ganon, and now the reason why he's in the average tier, I haven't really played with him, but nothing particularly about him is too bad. I mean, his damage output and some of his regular attacks are actually pretty good, but nothing about him's too bad. Most of his attacks and stuff are just average, like his unique action's not that good. Even when he's in Calamity form, nothing really about him stands out to me, so I do think average is the best place to put him because he wouldn't really fit anywhere else. Next up, guys, the final character in the average tier, we have Master Koga. Now, Master Koga is a really hard character to play, but if you can get good with him, he can be pretty decent, but if you're not that good with him, he would definitely be in the bad tier. Now, the thing with him is he has a good damage output, and some of his attacks are actually kind of wonky. He's a pretty weird character overall to play with and takes a while to get used to, so like I said earlier, you have to really get good with him to reach his full potential. You need a really skilled player to do that, so for those reasons, he's only in the average tier, but I get it. If you're good with him, you could definitely be in the great tier, and if you're bad with him, like I am, and you might even want to put him in like the noob tier, so I think average tier actually goes pretty well for him. Now it is time, guys, for the bad tier. First up, we have Daruk. Now, I was thinking about putting this guy in the average tier, but basically, every other character, even when you're blocking, takes a little bit of damage anyway, but it does add up, and you could end up taking, like, a good amount of damage. But now, Daruk, when you're blocking, he takes absolutely zero damage whatsoever, but his moveset is absolutely terrible, and his attacks are pretty low on damage output, so I think bad tier is a pretty solid spot for him, though you could honestly put him in average if you're, like, a beginner, but I think definitely bad tier is where I would put him. Next up, guys, we have Link two-handed weapon version. Now, I absolutely hate playing with this guy. I mean, his unique action literally loses hearts on Lake. I mean, he does do a lot of damage, but still, I really don't think it's a good trade-off. His combos are kind of bad, and I hate his playstyle. I mean, you can't get any stuns on the boss really at all. His crowd control and taking out, like, weaker enemies is really bad, and it doesn't really expose the enemy's pie or weak point gauge a lot, so I definitely think bad is the best tier for him. You could honestly put him in noob, unless you're, like, a player who likes beating quests really fast, then you might want to use him for his damage output, but I don't. Okay, guys, now we have Monk Maz Kashiya. Now, this guy can be really fun to use, but in my opinion, he's pretty hard to play and pretty difficult to get used to. Also, he's a pretty weak character. Like, all of his packs don't really do anything, and this guy's runes are pretty trash. I mean, they're similar to Link's, except Link's are more, have a more opportunity for damage, if that makes any sense, and he just really honestly have a low damage output overall. I mean, some of attacks can be kind of fun. That'd be the only reason why he's not in the noob tier, but honestly, I think the bad tier is a pretty good spot for him. Now, guys, we have the Great Fairies. Now, the thing with them is they have such an insane, unique action, as well as their stasis, but as far as everything else goes, it's not that good, especially their combos. They're not very good at all. They have some pretty good runes, especially their remote bombs, but since they're so big, you do take a lot of damage with them, so I don't think the Great Fairies aren't that good. Now, you could definitely put them on average, but I don't think so, so I'm going to keep them in bad. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree with that, and it's probably going to be my most hated placement, but, like, hear me out on this one. You take a lot of damage with these guys. Now, guys, up next, we have Ravioli. Now, this guy's pretty simple. He's just a bad version of Tima with a pretty lame, unique action. Nothing really good about him. He's all right at crowd control, but that's really it. His runes aren't that good or special, and there's no reason this guy would be in any other tier besides bad, just because of his crowd control and his damage output just keeping him out of the noob tier. Next up, guys, on the list, we have Terrico. Now, I know I have placed him worse than Reiju, but ignore that. I think he's better than Reiju, and here's why. First up, the only real reason that he's good at all is because he has a pretty decent unique action. It works well with his combos, but honestly, that is really it with him. I mean, his runes are pretty bad, and pretty much everything else with his combos and stuff, so you could place him in bad, but I think he is slightly worse. So that's why he is in the noob tier, and remember, just ignore the Reiju thing. I definitely think he's better than Reiju. Next up, guys, on the list, we have Reiju. Now, Reiju has a very awkward playstyle, not in a good way. I mean, her runes are okay, but it feels weird fighting with a Sand Seal, and she does not have many too good abilities or combos. I mean, her only really good ability at all is her dash attack, and although damage output on her isn't all that bad, I think she's in the noob spot because she doesn't really have anything good, and you can't really take out enemies fast, and she's literally like the worst character besides Broccoli Man to play against bosses, so I definitely think noob tier is the place where she should go. Next up, guys, on the list, we have Zelda Twilight Bow. In my opinion, she's pretty terrible. She does not have a single good ability that, in my opinion, really stands out. I mean, alongside, like, some of her combos, which are decent, I guess, she has a pretty low damage output, and nothing really stands out, and she's pretty bad for fighting harder enemies, so definitely, I think noob tier is a good tier for her. She's not quite a meme, but I don't really think she's that good at all. Next up, guys, on the list, we have Zelda Chica Slate. And I know right now you see her in the meme tier, but I'm actually promoting her to the average tier because she actually has a lot of really good combos, especially this one where you use her bomb attack, which actually does insane damage. And she also has pretty good remote bombs along with her magnesis exposing a weak point gauge or pie pretty easily. So honestly, I'm actually promoting her to average tier just because I think her damage output's a little bit lower than most other characters. So this, guys, is the new tier list. Now, the character that everyone will agree with is the Big Broccoli, the vegetable, the leader of the Koroks, the man who has gold poop and loses his seeds a lot, the one, the only, Hestu. Now, Hestu is the worst character because he is slow, he does not do any damage, his combos are terrible, and you just can't do anything with him. So yeah, definitely the worst in the game. There's no reason why this guy would be in any other tier. I mean, he does absolutely nothing. His combos do the same exact thing. So yeah, definitely the only meme tier. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, and if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like down below, because this video took forever to make, like 7 hours or something, and also subscribe if you're new here, and tell me what you think in the comments, what I did wrong, and that kind of thing. Also, just one more reminder, make sure to like and subscribe, but until next time, peace!